It's a big day, right? So we just rolled out Sisu, but at the same time, everybody seems to be kind of panicking about this NAR settlement changes and the way that the MLS organizations are adjusting, including our own Oklahoma real estate governing bodies from OAR to OREC to now our local boards. They're all trying to accommodate and get ahead of what the changes may bring when the settlement is finally settled. So it's still kind of a moving target, but the conversation is changing and what's expected of you is changing. So I do feel like it is appropriate at this time to have a little conversation with you guys. I will do 2 videos just for the sake of time and keeping things organized, but you won't have to dig through the video to find it. The second video that I do will show you, it'll be a screen share, and I'll show you exactly where to find any of the documents that I mentioned and the things that I'm getting ready to tell you. So don't panic. I'll make sure you have the links. I'll make sure they're posted, make sure they're in the files in the Facebook group, as well as emailing them out to you. You should have all of the forms that you need, and I will mention several of them in this quick, hopefully quick video real quick today. So I'm going to try to go conversation style instead of just boring you with me going on and on. I mean, I've attended, today would be class number 9, 8 and 9 were today on this exact subject. I've expressed to you guys, I've stayed kind of quiet about all of this because there is a lot. I would say the majority of information out there is misinformation, it is incorrect. So I want to sit back and wait till our authorities and our brokerage says what they expect of us. And so this is me delivering the first round of that. So bear with me. I decided to do it kind of Q&A this way. So these are the questions that I've seen either you guys ask, I've been text them directly, or in some of these forums, there are questions I've heard asked more than one time. So I assume that somebody in this group is going to ask that question. And so take notes, and I'm just going to go through them one by one so that you can reference them. If you have additional questions based on my answers or something doesn't seem clear or right, please feel free to text me, reach out, make a comment. This is an ongoing conversation, and I want to make sure every person in this group is very, very well aware of the facts, not the hype or the drama. Okay, so let's get going. Where do I get the forms? So I'm going to provide you with that link, but OREC has a dedicated website just for all things NAR, and NAR actually has one as well. So on the OREC website, as well as in the app, you'll be able to find several new documents. One of them is the buyer broker service agreement, the hot topic, right? How do we do that? What is it? What are the changes? How do we use it? We will be training on our Tuesday training this month in August, our in-person trainings. We'll be going over the buyer broker service agreement. This is obviously important. So I'm imploring you, please, not only do you get CE credit and get to hang out with your other Epic agents, but also it's really important that you know how to use this and you know how to put it into practice. So please show up at the trainings this month and get trained on that agreement. There are changes, and you're going to want to know the language of how to get it signed. So I won't hang out there because we have a lot of questions to answer, but come to the class and you'll know everything you need to know about that agreement. Okay, so working with buyers. If you're already working with a buyer, let's say you're working with 3 buyers, you're just not under contract yet. I've been asked if they have to go back retroactively and get a buyer broker agreement, their service agreement. The truth is, yes, they want you to. Unless you're under contract, they want you to add a supplemental, and I'll show you where to find that as well, same website. They want you to add either a cooperative compensation agreement to the contract and have everybody sign it, or a buyer broker service agreement with your client. Either way, you will need to have some kind of documentation moving forward of how you're getting paid, how much you're getting paid, and that can't be a range. It has to be something specific. We will get into that in the training. The next question, if there is no offer, where do you store it? So let's say you have a BBSA signed with a client and you show them houses and they don't end up making any offers. What do you do with it? If it's expired or whatever, do you keep it? You will want to keep those stored somewhere, and it seems kind of tedious maybe, but remember, you've heard me talk about the contract needs to tell the story, and that's with any client. You know, if you service that client 3 months, 6 months, a year from now, or they do end up going back and buying the property that you sold them, you're going to want to have that agreement, so that we can make sure that everything is above board. I'm okay with you, if it's not a client that you feel like is going to be a long-term repeat client, I'm okay with you creating a folder or a loop just in your own dot loop, put your name and put the title of the folder to be something like old buyer broker agreements or just for storage or something along those lines. You're able to create a loop so you can just stick them all in one folder. I would encourage you to title it in the name of your client in case when they do come back, you do have that for reference, and you'll have a kind of a track record and you can start a new loop for that buyer. If that makes sense. Is it required? No, but in this business, I would encourage you to keep absolutely everything so that we can defend you if need be and so that we can keep everybody honest, right? Okay, the next one. Do we submit or show the listing agent the BBSA, the buyer broker service agreement? No, you do not. So let me say this as clearly as possible because I've already seen kind of pushy listing agents demanding that they get to see that document. That is not a deal. And you're not to give that to them. That agreement is between you and the buyer, not anything to do with the seller or anything to do with the listing agent. You really don't have the right to give them that document without written permission from the buyer anyway. No matter what, if somebody's pushing you and they won't cooperate, let me handle it. Let me know what's going on. There are going to be some people that make you feel like you're supposed to give that to them, and you are not any more than they're supposed to provide you with a listing agreement saying what they're willing to compensate another person for. So, no, you do not have to give that. If you are on the listing side, do not demand that of the buyer's agents. That will not be backed up by me. It's not good practice. Okay, do we, all members of the MLS must do this, but not members. So this is something important for you to know, especially if you're a listing agent. If you have somebody that is an attorney, like just an attorney that's got a broker's license, you have certain public investors. If they're not a member of NAR or the local board MLS, they don't have to sign this form. So that can be kind of confusing, but I want to put this in here with further explanation to come, because if you run across that situation, you're going to need to know how to enforce that. If somebody is a member of GTAR or a member of Oakmar or the local board, they're a member of any kind of MLS that are NAR members, they have to. But outside of that, there are people that are, they can avoid having to perform that. This is also not necessary on a commercial listing. So if you're going to go show a rental property or a commercial listing, they don't have to have these buyer broker service agreements. They have their own systems, as you know, if you're involved in that. Okay, all MLS members must do that. Okay, who enforces it? That's a fun question that I've heard probably 20 times today. That's our local MLS. So whoever your MLS is, they do have authority. They can't take your license, and OREC, the ones who could take your license, are not coming to do that, but you can receive disciplinary action from MLS. And trust me, they are quick to throw out those $100 fines. If you have not had the pleasure of receiving one, especially the ones that come without warning, please continue to avoid that by listening to this advice. Just don't do it. Like they're gonna come up with some way of policing it, and you know who the biggest, most aggressive, effective police are in this industry? Each other. And we happen to be the new kid on the block, the shiny object. So I assure you, they are going to be watching everything that you're doing. So please, please, please follow this instructions, stay leaned in, know what you're supposed to do and not do. We're all learning, but we want to stay above board and avoid those fines. Speaking of that, let's talk about what not to do. Good grief, have I seen some crazy stuff in the masterminds and things like that of how people are trying to do workarounds and tweaks and behind the back stuff. That's not who we are, you guys. I don't think that anybody in our organization practices that way, but I definitely, my hope is that you choose to run your business in a way that you're proud of and that is professional with excellence and integrity. That is who we are here. And that's the only thing that I will support when it comes down to some kind of disagreement on these rules. I'm going to go straight to the rules and we're going to go by the book. We want to make sure that we're sowing good things into this world. Therefore, good things will come back to us. So some examples of what I'm talking about. There are people that have built platforms that you can be join a membership of. You can pay a monthly fee and advertise all your stuff on there, your commission rates and those kind of things, what you're willing to offer to the other side. Don't do it. Don't sign up for those things. I'm just telling you, it's not lost on the governing bodies and they are watching them. So just don't. I heard some other things. Somebody asked in the class today, can they put it on a note inside the key box? Here's how you can kind of gauge what you should do and what you shouldn't when it comes to where to advertise that cooperating, whatever. I'm not going to say the wrong term, but the seller concession that is being offered to the other side, if it has anything whatsoever at all, even kind of to do with MLS, the answer is no. So where do you get your key boxes from? If it's part of your MLS, if it's part of your local board that you lease or purchase those from, if that's where the membership having those key box comes from, just leave it alone. Just don't touch it. Don't mix the two. Can you put it on a sign in the kitchen? Can you put it on your forehead and a tattoo? Yes, because they're not part of any MLS, right? So it can be on your personal website. I will say there's a caveat to this. So if you're using a personal website like through Lofty with an IDX feed, that's a no-go. So you can do landing pages and things like that, but if the houses are coming in that the consumer is seeing off of your MLS being fed into the IDX feed, the answer is no. You're going to have a separate website, put it on your social media, put it in emails, whatever you want to do. But we can't use, if it's going out and getting the client and bringing it in and then showing you the MLS IDX feed, it cannot be on that website. There'll be more details to that to come, but just so you know. Some of the other things I've seen a workaround, people posting, like sign writers, which is kind of a good idea. I've heard pros and cons on both of those things. I'm going to say not to put on your sign writer the percentage. So let's say that your seller is willing to offer 3% or 2.5% to a cooperating buyer's agent. They're allowed to do that. But let me ask you something. If I'm an educated consumer and I'm driving through a neighborhood that I love, and I plainly see on the sign that they're offering 3% or 2.5%, guess what I'm going to do? I'm not calling my agent and saying, hey, let's go over here because they're offering commissions, and we're trying to narrow down only houses that you're going to get paid on. That's not good practice, folks, because guess what they're going to do? They're going to go talk to the listing agent and right off the bat negotiate the contract to be cheaper by whatever the amount is on the sign. Wouldn't you? I hate to say that, but in today's climate and economy, they're going to go with what best serves their family. And things being so tight right now, the interest rates being high, insurance being high, all of those things, I wouldn't even blame them for choosing to go knock 2 or 3% off the price of the house if the listing agent is willing to do that. They don't understand how important their protection is, right? They don't understand what we do. We've done a really good job of devaluing our value. So the consumer, if it's posted, is probably just going to go save themselves some money and cut you out of the deal. So please don't. I wouldn't put actual percentages on there. I've seen some creative things like, buyer agent friendly and some things like that are very vague. That's probably okay if you feel like doing that practice. It's not going to get you in trouble. But my suggestion to you is not to put it. You can put it on anywhere else. Get a corrugated plastic sign or a sign writer or something that says something, but leave it off of the actual sign, the percentage. Okay, dragging on there. Sorry for the rabbit trail. Open houses. Let's talk open houses. You guys, open houses are going to go back to how they started a long time ago. So open house didn't used to be 2 hours in the middle of an afternoon. It used to be all day, like 6-8 hours. Like you're there all day, maybe even all weekend. So Saturday and Sunday, holding that house open so people could come and go. There's never been a time where they're more important. And we are definitely going to do some things outside the box to create some unique experiences just for Epic with open houses. So stay tuned for an open house kind of boot camp training that I'm putting together. I believe I've got some things that I do at open houses that set us apart. And I want to sew that into you guys so that we can really crush it. Because guess what? The general public is not going to want to get married on their first date, right? We've talked about that. They're not going to want to sign something. We're going to have to show our value and do that. But when they learn, when we get out there and we're educating them that now if they're going to house shop, they have to, sign a piece of paper. If there's an alternative that is simple to them and they can still use you if they want to, but they don't have to sign an agreement that they're going to pay for something before they even pick the house, they're going to do that. So guess what? The one way that they can do that is it's open houses, right? So they can go, they're not required to sign any kind of service agreement. You can ask them to sign in. And so, obviously I think that's going to be really, really important as well. But still, your first question with every single person that walks through that door consistently, and I mean every single person, let's not even get into the fair housing stuff that I think is going to come down the road, but you're going to ask them, are you working with an agent? Have you signed any documents with any agent since you have started this home buying journey? That's going to be really important. If it's an open house and they do tell you they are working with an agent, I use a QR code to ask them that question so they can go in and populate the information. If you're not using one of those, it's important that you do ask them the name of the agent that they're working with. I believe a professional, awesome idea, something to do just to kind of keep things pleasant in the sandbox, is to shoot a text or even a voice memo or something to that agent, letting them know that their client stopped by and yada, yada, yada. I think that those are good practices and will develop a good reputation for us. They don't have to, you're not performing any brokerage services. So the general idea behind that is when you're holding a house open, it's not as much as showing as it is marketing the house, and you are doing so on behalf of the seller. So it's a unique idea compared to what we've been taught for the last few years of who we represent and the transaction, all those things. Now, I will say if it comes to where they don't have an agent and now they're coming to you and go, either we want to buy this house, we want you to write the offer, or we don't like this house, but if we would like for you to show us some more. Now that client is asking you to perform real estate broker services to them, which means we need an agreement, right? We need to know what we're getting paid and who's paying it. So now you do need to have them. Once you move past that, just come to the open house and they're checking out the house you're marketing. When they start wanting you to perform your duties outside of that and obligate yourself to them, we need an agreement that says what you're going to do for them. Is it limited service? Is it full service? And what you're getting paid by who and when. So that's where you want to change if you're doing open houses, where you want to change the what you do for contracts. Okay, have you signed any docs? I already said that with another agent. I will tell you too on that. This is another question that keeps coming up. There's no police for the public, right? Outside of our, public protectors that are out there working in police departments. In real estate, nobody's going to lose their license as a consumer because they lie to you. They may not always be honest. It's going to happen. You're going to run into that. You're going to learn how to ask questions that make them feel comfortable and at ease, but that hopefully get an honest answer out of them. You can limit your BBSAs to a property or a length of time. I'm going to suggest that you, as much as possible, do it to a length of time instead of a property so that you don't have to change it. So maybe you're going to show them a house or 3 houses on a Saturday. So you're trying to make them comfortable. It could be a cold lead or something. So you want to sign that agreement of, I'm going to show you these 3 houses today. If we buy one, then I get paid X amount of dollars. But if it's past that, I would encourage you to make that agreement into a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever they're comfortable signing, so that you don't have to go do another one or amend that one. And we keep the contract nice and clean if it's a chance that they will buy something else or show another house. The seller, I've seen this out there disseminated incorrectly. The seller is able to pay the buyer's agent or the brokerage, right? So if we have a buying agent that goes, the seller is able to pay Epic and pay your split just like normal. The difference is it's not coming from the other broker. So previously, the seller is paying a broker, the listing agent's broker, and that's, the broker pays their agent. And then they also pay us or pay the other cooperating broker. And then that is broken down to getting to pay you, right? That's not how it's going to be anymore. Brokers are not paying brokers. I think that might go away completely after listening to this stuff today. But but the seller is allowed to pay that agent, the cooperating agent, their brokerage. It just has to be specified in the listing agreement that it's already agreed to, the amount that they're going to pay them. That already has to be established. We'll talk more about that as we do training on the BBSA. We're at 20 minutes now, so I'm going to keep on moving here. Okay, so they still can play. All fees, this is important. So all of your fees, so from the commission to the TC fee, the Epic charges, to if you personally charge, let's say you have a private TC and you charge $350 and on top of that or whatever to the client. I know some of you are doing that. All of those fees, everything that is getting charged to anybody, that total amount has got to be on the buyer broker service agreement. It needs to be very transparent and clear of who is getting paid what. So sorry for the dogs. Okay, moving on to the next one. You are capped by your buyer broker agreement. So